Sure. It's actually, fortunately for my memory, we just recently went through a major audition process. And hired someone from NYU. And since the last time we had an audition, things have evolved somewhat. Ideally, the way that we like to bring dancers into the company is that we would already have a relationship with them through classes or some other education project, that we would know them and they would be familiar with Trish's work. That has gotten harder and harder because there really isn't a consistent training outside of the company for Trish's work. So I've always said that the only way you learn how to do Trish's work is by doing Trish's work. And so our audition process is very much about imagining, our selection process is about imagining, where can this person go? What do they have to offer? What is problematic? Of the things that are problematic, are they the kinds of things that I see the possibility of improving on, or is that not possible in the time frame that we have? So I think that the thing about Trish's work that's quite makes it maybe less accessible, more challenging stylistically, is its use of weight combined with clear spatial form. And bringing those two things together is not easy. So finding, I know, always right from the get-go, watching Trisha go through the process and select dancers, alignment is key as a foundation. Leg alignment, she's fanatical about it. I kind of inherited that. So she would always insist on every audition that she wants to see them do jumps in first position, jumps in second position, and if she sees knees that aren't lined up, she most likely will not continue to look at that dancer. So, so alignment continues to be a big component, but of course there's also all of that other stuff that comes with the alignment, and Trisha, along with alignment, would look at people's faces and their eyes, and is it a face and eyes that engage me? So those are sort of the two ends of the spectrum that I feel that I've inherited. So I want to see a dancer that has an appetite for risk, for play, that is comfortable in doing things that maybe are not familiar, that's willing to try to expand beyond what's known. And I don't know, does that explain it in terms of okay. I mean, I can get into more of the technicalities of it. We did a screening process through applications. We had 400 people who sent in applications and videos, and we got help from our alumni. We did a very thorough screening and narrowed it down to, I think it was 90 dancers that we looked at. And then we had basically a week to narrow that down to who we hired.
Hi, everyone. So because of how it is now in New York, the climate of the dance community, I kind of function on a project-to-project basis. So it's just too much responsibility right now to try to, for financially, but also creatively, it's hard to keep creating new work, you know, to have that pressure. And so I really am enjoying this project-based way of working. I just started out with my friends, so it's kind of been an interesting process recently that I'm starting to meet a lot of people, new people that I'm working with, and that's through schools. So a lot of people who I'm working with now, I met through teaching or making a creation like I'm doing here, or word of mouth, or someone recommends someone to me and then I meet them or I see them perform. So I think what's interesting, I was speaking with Andrea Miller the other day, and she was just saying, you know, how the evolution of your dancers become, that they stay your friends, you know, it changes the more work that you do. So I'm kind of seeing that now, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm very personable, so I actually like to know the person because it is such a personal, being in a, now especially how it is now, because there's not really a company, so you are friendly with them in and out of the studio. And you know, the dancers I work with help me in other ways as well, you know, now with social media and, you know, maybe admin work, you know, or they know they can take photos. A lot of dancers I work with are amazing photographers, and so it's kind of more like a collective now. Yeah, and so like the last, what I just did at the Joyce, it was just people that I met throughout the years, and a lot has to do with the schedule. It's very practical, actually. You know, a lot of people, I maybe want to work with someone, but they're not available, because working in the city, you have, especially everyone's on a project basis, so a lot of people have a million jobs, which is normal now. So that's another aspect of creating something that you have to, I sit for hours looking at people's schedules, and if their schedule doesn't work and I really want to work with them, I just, you know, they maybe fit perfectly and I love how they dance, but it just doesn't work. And I'm at the point now where the schedule is very important, as you know, because the space is so limited here. And if you find hours of the day where, like in the summer, Sean gave me space here to rehearse, which was a gift, the biggest gift. So if I couldn't find someone to work with during those hours, it just, you know, practical reasons. So, you know, or, you know, even I get comments, why didn't you work with this person? And people don't realize it's just because they weren't available, you know, so.
I have a question. Do you guys just use something called Moodle for scheduling?
Oh yeah, they have that, and this other one, I forgot what it's called, but yes, it's very handy.
Does it work?
Yes.
Like you use it for that kind of thing? Because I keep talking to the Trisha Brown company manager. I'm like, why don't you try one of Doodle?
Doodle, that's
Thank
what it
you.
is. Yeah. Yes.
Do you guys know about this?
Yes. Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very, very helpful.
Okay, good. Yeah. When you just talk about looking at schedules for hours,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
easily imagine that happening. Yeah. Come on, you guys. What do you want to know? Or tell us something.
What's it like as a leader in dance in the New York City dance community as a woman? Sorry, I couldn't track that.
Oh no.
I only went phew because I don't know how much I'm really out in the community. I feel like that's something more for you.
I feel, you know, there's still a lot of obstacles. I mean, I think in general, anyone who is brave enough to make work in New York, there are many obstacles. Every day there's something, especially leading towards a performance somewhere. I can tell you how every day there was something else that you had to figure out. I'm from New York, so I grew up in the city, so I'm very resourceful which is a really good skill to have. And I've learned to use that because it's just, I don't know what that even means because, you know, I'm just trying to do what it is that I'm doing, and I don't even know what successful means because there's so many different ways to look at it. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot now, like, well, what does successful mean in the dance world, and does that mean that I still have 2 roommates? Like, you know, it doesn't balance. So it gets confusing, but, you know, all I can do is just try to create possibilities, and that's what I'm really inspired to do, and that's why I started the playground. And, you know, I'm really interested in creating possibilities, new possibilities, to figure out how to move this forward. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question, but I think successful is such a like confusing term because I write about it all the time because I like people say, oh, you're doing so well in New York, and what does that mean? I'm not sure, you know? So, and you know, I'm still in the beginning, and I'm trying to figure it out as well. Yeah, I don't know, there are no answers, and I think when I moved back here, I talk to so many people, and I'm just trying to navigate it for myself, and people are so helpful. They lead you to, you know, introduce you to someone else, but I think it's a lot, like I learned so much just by doing it on my own. And I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just trying to I'm still figuring it out, to be honest, so, right?
Yeah. Recently, someone, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering names, but it kind of went on my radar briefly that someone was organizing talk about how to, in the dance world in New York, how do you have a family? How do you, and I have a 17-year-old son, and I thought about it, and I thought I didn't actually ever engage with the conversation, and I realized that it's really just how to survive. I mean, anything that supports the individual artist. I mean, let's just start there, you know, and then, you know, from there, building on finding ways of finding balance in your life. I have to say, in terms of women in dance or in the arts, I would really love to see more women in positions of power.
Yes.
In other words, on boards and as presenters, and you know, I really feel like there's a big inequality in regards to who's calling the shots, and I feel like, yeah, it's time for that to change.
I agree, and everyone who makes a decision, like a curator, even women curators, they still program a lot of men all the time, and you know, it's kind of frustrating because you know that you are just as talented, or maybe even more talented as that guy, and you know, it's just. And there's definitely, I've dealt with some of these, they're just they think in a different way, and you know, they may be afraid of a new voice, and I've definitely felt that in certain institutions, especially from a classical background, and you know, that was really interesting to have to face someone like that. So yeah, I agree, and I feel like if more women support other women to bring them, you know, on the same level as men, then I feel like we would have more of a chance. So I agree with you 100%. And yeah, that's why like someone like Gina Gibney is amazing, because she created this huge platform. I mean, she made these havens for dance in New York, which didn't exist before, these really amazing centers. And And she's giving a lot of people opportunities, so I really respect her a lot.
Another inspiring artist and supporter, curator of work is someone I just worked with out in San Francisco, Hope Moore. If you haven't, look her up on online, MOHR, and she's a dancer herself, a choreographer, and also a curator, and has put together some really interesting projects that I was lucky enough to be part of one. So just to let it be known that there are people like Gina and Hope out there, and there just needs to be more of them.
And another woman I met, I forgot her name, in San Francisco. Does she run ODC? She's amazing. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of women in dance in San Francisco, so I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Funding? Oh, yeah. Well, I just went through, so I just did this big project, and I'm like sweating thinking about it. Funding, you know, in New York it's hard because there are a lot of talented people here, and a lot of people keep getting the same, you know, the same people keep getting the same award. So that's really hard to get into the grant cycle. So the grants are tough because there are just so many people here, and I think you have to rely on personal connections and your family and friends, and that starts there just by writing a simple note. And I was even surprised because at first you're like kind of not embarrassed, but you're like I don't want to, but then you just get over it and then you do it. And I was so surprised how many people were so supportive and reached out to me. And of course, even if it was just something like $25, but that means so much, and it costs so much to put on one production. Like, I don't think I ever realized how much it cost. It adds up so quickly. It disappears right in front of your face, and you're like, but this sounded like a good chunk of money, and then it's gone between the dancers and the costumes and the costume designer and the lighting designer, and then, you know, I had a composer and the musicians. I mean, even it goes down to your wardrobe lady, or wardrobe person. That's what else? Like just you have to pay for the rights for music. And I personally wrote to the composers because I was so nervous. I was like, oh man, what if they charge me a lot? And they were so nice. I just emailed them. And I think now it's amazing how you can access someone's email and just reach out to them. Mm-hmm. And this one composer said, whoa, I would love for it to be performed in New York. Thank you so much.
Wow.
And it was so great. And but everything, like a percentage goes to your fiscal sponsor, because basically, I don't know if you know how that works, because I'm not a 501c3, which Trisha Brown's company, I'm sure, is. I don't have a board, so I'm just fiscally sponsored. So that means that this organization, Fractured Atlas, takes a percentage out of my donations so they can act as my nonprofit sponsor.
I see. Okay.
So, which is all these things I had to learn about before, you know, and it takes so much. I would say a great way to learn is like helping, like admin. If anybody of you ever want to help, I definitely need help. But yeah, it's just like kind of figuring it out as you're going on. But I think you have to ask for help, definitely, and not be afraid to. And that was a big lesson. Also, you know, Kickstarter was a big thing, but I think it kind of got overused, unfortunately, and I don't think people respond to it as much anymore. So going the quieter route and, you know, maybe doing like a fundraiser, or I think bringing people together is the best way to do it. and you realize how inspiring it is to bring people, the power of bringing people together. And I think that just really blew my mind, because you feel alone a lot. I feel alone a lot, you know, and you feel like you're the only person doing this, and you're making the decisions and figuring these things out. But then when you have a show or have a fundraiser, people come and you realize, wow, it's not just about you, it's just the act of bringing people together. And I think that was the most inspiring thing about having a show in the last month. So,
Do you have any kind of a support group that you, I mean, I don't know, support group is kind of a weird thing, but like, are there any opportunities in the community to, like, I'm just thinking, you know, peers of yours where you can bounce ideas off of them?
I mean, I would love
where you're not always
alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really amazing idea, and I actually was talking to one of the composition teachers that I had, and she said the same thing to me. She's like, I feel alone, so we should have, I don't think it exists, but I think it would be an amazing tool, because we all feel like this. And I would love to learn from, you know, I would love to learn from other people as well. And yeah, just the feeling of not being alone. I think there are many people that feel the same way, and you can come together. And it's such an insular community that most people, when I talk to them about what I do, they're like, you know, they're like, you do, they don't understand.
No. But I think to get a group of people together to brainstorm and like give a little bit of perspective on each other's work. Like I have a friend who just recently asked me and another friend to just meet with her and talk to her about, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I've been, you guys have both worked with me, this is what I'm struggling with, and just try to give her a little perspective on it that, you know, when you're inside of it, it's so hard to get.
I would love that. I think also, like having a mentor is really helpful. But that's also, I would love to find a way to meet other people, to have a support system. Especially when you're in a process, to have somebody come in to watch your work was so helpful. It's very helpful. What else?
So before this, I met with someone that I've been trying to collaborate with, who's a composer, and had this long conversation about how I haven't been working enough in the collaboration, which is true because I've been so pulled between, I just graduated in May, and so I've been trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life, and I've been all over the place.
Right.
And I'm trying to find what my goals are that are like actually driving me. And right now it's like a big one is just making money. But I want to come back to finding what's important to me. And I was really curious if you guys would just talk about, like, personally the things that drive you on a day-to-day basis and how that is involved with your work. And if that has anything to do with being female, or like what it is that drives you to share dance with people.
That's a great question. Side note about the collaborator, though, just to answer this. When you meet the right collaborator, you know, and I'm having an experience where it's not working, and the person I usually work with, you just know, and once you meet those people, that's why directors work with the same actors. Like, I understand now because why people keep the same dancers for a long time, because when you have that team, they just get it, and you just gel, and you don't have to think about it. You're not working hard enough. It just works. It's just really seamless. But I love your question because I'm kind of a little burnt out, to be honest, and you know, I am actually thinking about this myself right now, because I just had this big show and it was so great. It's highs and lows, right? And you do these things and it's the best feeling in the world. And then at the end, it's like after you have a performance, then you get really low, and then you're like, what's my purpose in life? And all these things start to come up. And then that's what fuels you actually for your next process. But you know, I'm having a struggle right now, like how to heal myself in this time where I know I can't be in the studio, but I have to, because I have to work. And I was just speaking with my costume designer here about it, because it's very hard, because if you're getting paid to be creative and you don't feel it, it's very challenging. So I would love to learn too. I mean, I have like a meditation and yoga practice that's been very helpful, but you know, when you don't feel that drive, which I normally do, how do you get this motivation back? I don't know. And I think it is just by accepting it and saying it's just a phase, and just try to do other things, whatever that is. And I think that's hard in New York, to have a time out. And you feel the constant, like, I feel guilty if I, like, you know, I should be doing something, I should be doing this, but I'm trying to teach myself that it's okay, I can watch Netflix all day if I really want to. Because it's, you know, you have to do these things in order to, I'm not a machine. Otherwise, like, what we do is so hard, and it comes from you. And if you're not the one driving it, no one else is going to do it for you. But yes, if anyone, I'd love to have like a support group with that. Like, how do you get over it? How do you, during this time, like I don't know. And I'm sure people have practices of, they know they go on vacation for like a month, or leave New York, I don't know, they go to an ashram, or which I've done before, which is really great. So maybe you have some advice on that.
Oh, I'm struggling along with everybody. I don't have. I mean, I have my things that I do that you know, I try to hold on to just replenish my energy. And but I do feel like I really want to let you guys know about something that I recently discovered that has been incredibly helpful to me, and I know it will continue to be. Has anyone heard of a book called Making Your Life as an Artist? It's free online. If you want to read the whole book, you can read it online. Just Google Making Your Life as an Artist. And it's also a really lovely little book to hold in your hands. And there's a book and there's a workbook. And it's basically, it's written by an artist. It happens to be a choreographer who wrote it. And it's looking at what it means to be an artist, what is the role of an artist, and in very, very practical terms, sort of walks you through what are my goals, how do I zero in on them, what are the doable steps that, you know, like breaking it down, and so there's a workbook that you know, where you can go through that. And actually this finding a group of people to brainstorm and be in support of your process is one of the things that I got from this book. So, and the friend that asked me to do that, she and I have been working together and sort of going through these steps of like, okay, artistic goals, personal goals, financial goals, really practical and incredibly helpful, I think. So I just really highly recommend, you know, finding that and using it. Yeah.
I feel at this crossroads because most of my friends now are getting married or having babies, and I'm not, and which is okay. But it's confusing time because it feels. Yeah, I feel in this limbo because I have a lot of goals that I want to achieve, and you know, it prevents me. But I also want to have a family too eventually, of course. I definitely want that, but I like that idea because it is like there's artistic goals, personal, financial, like where do I see myself? And you have to figure out how to embody all of them. But I do feel confused right now with all of those. So it's like, I think at every age, these questions come up. So it's, now how I feel, how Giada feels, how you feel. It's like different stages. I feel like you have to just keep questioning what are the next things that you want personally and artistically. And they're gonna keep changing. One day I wake up, I'm like, I wanna do this. The next day I'm like, what was I thinking? But that's the great thing about now. It's like you have the possibility to do it. It's like, I decided one day, I was like, I wanna create something. And I created it. I don't know how, I just decided I'm creating this platform to give people very inexpensive class and inspiring people to give a workshop. Okay, we started in a gallery space in Soho, donation, and now it's like Gina Gibney picked us up and now we're part of her organization. And we just decided, it's like now there's so many tools that you can use to create any platform, and I think that's really empowering. So I would say that don't feel like there is a system, because there's not really anymore. It's the whole dance community is kind of figuring it out. So if you have an idea, I think that you can just make it happen, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for young artists staying in dance? And to explain that, I graduated undergrad, and one of my teachers was like, make sure you stay in dance. A lot of my friends who graduated, they're trying to find ways to support themselves. So you spend all day waitressing, and you spend all day in retail, and it just takes away from, you might not have money to pay $20 for a class. You can't take class every day, so it's really, they get distracted from staying inside of dance. So do you have any advice on how to stay in dance and also then still supporting yourself too?
Honestly, I don't. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I think that's why I recommended this book, is that I feel like it helps you really think through, okay, what's really the bottom line? Like what exactly do I need financially? And that you do, and sometimes you do have to make a choice, and how am I going to achieve that? Also how not to fall into certain, I think there's some very known pitfalls that you can fall into as an artist or a dancer specifically, that feeling of like, oh my God, I can't relax, I have to always be working, not having a 9-to-5 job has its benefits and also its pitfalls, So I don't have answers, I really don't. I mean, it's, I've had times where I've talked to people and I've thought, oh, maybe I feel the same way, that I don't want to rely on my art making to, I don't want to put the burden of having to pay the bills through my art making. I want it to be free of that.
I would say that, I don't know, like in New York, it's hard because there's many dancers, not that many jobs. But I would say to insert yourself into a community that inspires you and decide, I want to be there, and just, first you might have to give your service to them, or I don't know specifically, but then something might come from them, or you might meet someone that might bring you to somewhere else. Or, if you like a company, maybe you can work for them as well as finding a dance job later. But the same, it's like friends of mine, either they're they're in a show at night, or they dance all day and then they bartend at night, or they teach. But I think it's the same. Everyone figures it out for themselves. I mean, my sister just gave me really great advice. She's not a dancer, and she just said, because I was telling her I feel very burned down, she was like, well, what do you like to do besides dance? Like, and she was like, I know you like to read, you like to be in a calm environment, why don't you work at a desk somewhere? I was like, okay, maybe I could do that, because I was thinking, I have the same issue. It's like, when I'm not creating, how do I make money? So I have the same exact issue too, and maybe I don't want to be giving output, like I need to do something else. So I'm kind of at that crossroads also, and it's like, it rains and it pours. Like this summer, I didn't have 1 second. I was like pulling my hair out because I was doing 5 projects at once. I did a movie, I was doing the show, I did this. And then now it's like, after this project at NYU, I don't have anything. And so then you have to figure out financially, okay, I'm gonna save money when I'm making money, not go out to eat, even though I need to have a personal life, but like, you know, you have to figure it out. So when you're having those times, what I'm learning, that you don't have to feel so stressed, and you know, it comes back around, and that's something I learned, because before I was like so uptight about not having something, and I just learned to kind of surrender in a very spiritual way, because then you realize, okay, if I give myself time, something else will come. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard, it's a hard practice, so I'm figuring that out, but I think we're all confused still. Okay. Okay.